Have you ever laid on a kitchen floor, not because you tripped, not because you slipped, but because someone made the decision to put you there? I had. That night, the floor was cold like death. My cheek pressed against the tile, and I could feel the chill sinking through my skin into something deeper, into my soul. There was blood in my mouth. It pooled at the corner of my lips and tasted like pennies. My ribs screamed with every breath. My arms shook beneath me, trying to lift, trying to understand. My brain couldn't process the violence, not yet. My body was in survival mode. But my heart already knew what had just happened. Sarah hit me. Not a slap, not a push, a punch, a full force blow from a woman I once called family. And then there was Michael. He didn't come rushing to my side. He didn't kneel down in panic or call my name in fear. He didn't even look shocked. No, he just stood there at the edge of my kitchen, holding his beer, watching. And then he stepped over me. He stepped over me as if I were furniture, as if I were in the way, as if his expensive shoes shouldn't be stained by my pain. He didn't even close the door gently when he left. He just walked out, left me there bruised, broken, humiliated, left me in silence. No apology, no hesitation, no humanity, just the sound of the front door clicking shut. Just the cold of the tile and the even colder silence of my own brother. That moment broke something. Not just a rib, not just skin. It shattered something I thought could never be broken. Trust. My phone buzzed. I didn't move at first. My body still hurt. My cheek throbbed where it had met the floor. My ribs ached like they'd been crushed under a truck. But something about that vibration, something in my bones told me it wasn't just a missed call or a calendar reminder. It was him. I reached for the phone, hand trembling, not from weakness, but from everything I already feared I'd see. There it was, a text from Michael. 4 words, just 4. Words I will never forget. Words that carved a line between who I was and who I would become. Stay away from us. There was no, "Are you okay?" No, "I'm sorry." No, "I panicked." Just a command, cold, clinical, final. Stay away from us. Us. He had chosen his side, and it wasn't mine. My vision blurred, not from the pain this time, but from tears I didn't even know I still had left. How quickly he made it clear that I was not his sister anymore, that I was not family, that I was disposable. Do you know what that feels like? To bleed on your kitchen floor, bruised and humiliated, and still hold on to hope that maybe, just maybe, your brother will come back for you? And then get a text that slams that door shut forever? That was the moment I stopped crying. That was the moment something inside me went still. Not numb, not cold, clear. I texted back one word that felt like I was burning every bridge I had ever tried to build. Done. And I meant it. Not just done with the text, not just done with Michael. Done with being invisible. Done with being convenient. Done with being loyal to people who would leave me bleeding and call it love. I should have seen it coming. That text, "Stay away from us," it didn't come out of nowhere. It was written long ago, in birthday candles, in family dinners, in all the little moments I was told without words that I wasn't the favorite. Michael was. Michael was always first. At Christmas, he got the new bike. I got a sweater a size too big, always, so you can grow into it. When we both came home with report cards, my straight A's earned a nod. Michael's B- in math got him a high 5, and that's my boy. When he got into a community college, there were tears of pride. When I got into a top university with scholarships, my mother said, "Just don't become one of those career women, okay?" I was the background. Michael was the main event. And I tried so hard not to resent him. I told myself he didn't ask for the pedestal, that it wasn't his fault the sun always shined on him. But deep down, I knew he liked it there. And worse, he let me stay in the dark. I was the glue, the one who made sure the bills got paid when Dad lost his job. The one who stayed up helping Mom budget groceries during the recession. The one who always remembered birthdays, brought extra chairs for Thanksgiving, covered for Michael when he forgot Mom's medication. But I was never the story. When they spoke of family, they meant Michael. When they said, "We're proud," it was never in my direction. I wasn't bitter, not at first, because someone had to hold things together, right? Someone had to be the grown-up, the calm one. The one who put out fires before they burned the house down. But do you know what happens when you're always the one holding the family together? You disappear. You become the ghost in the room, always present, always useful, but never really seen. They remembered the meals I cooked, but never thanked the cook. They relied on my paycheck, but mocked my ambition. They leaned on me, but never stood up for me. I was everyone's safety net, until the day I fell. And no one caught me. When Michael brought Sarah home for the first time, I wasn't suspicious. I was hopeful. She was quiet, soft-spoken, with sad, searching eyes that looked like they belonged to someone who had seen too much and trusted too little. She told us she didn't come from much. Her childhood was hard. No stability, no love, just survival. And something in me cracked wide open when I heard her speak. Maybe it was the way she smiled, like she didn't know how to. Maybe it was the way she looked at Michael, as if he was her anchor in a world that kept drifting away. But I saw myself in her. The girl who had to be strong too soon. The girl who learned how to be useful before she ever felt wanted. So I let her in. Not cautiously, not slowly, but fully, like a sister I never had. When she struggled to find work, I spent nights redoing her resume. When she couldn't afford a deposit, I signed the lease for her apartment. My name, my credit, my trust. I gave her money for groceries, helped her buy interview clothes, even drove her to job fairs. And when she cried and said, "You're like the sister I never had," I believed her. Because I wanted to, because I needed to, because in a family where I had always been the extra, I finally felt like someone saw me as essential. But kindness is a dangerous thing when it's not returned, and sometimes the sweetest smiles hide the sharpest knives. It started like nothing. A minor disagreement, a tiny spark over flower arrangements. Of all things, Sarah wanted peonies. The florist said they were out of season. I suggested another option. Politely, gently, because I thought we were having a normal conversation. I didn't know that moment would be the match that lit the fire. She turned to me, eyes wide, lips tight, breathing sharp. Something shifted. I don't know if it was the wedding stress or if it was all the resentment she'd been quietly collecting. But what came next wasn't frustration. It was rage, unfiltered, explosive, dangerous. She screamed that I was trying to control everything, that I had always looked down on her, that I was jealous of her and Michael's happiness. Before I could even respond, she lunged. It wasn't a slap. It wasn't a push. It was a full-on punch to my mouth, hard, fast, violent. I stumbled backward, hit the counter, then collapsed to the floor, my lip bleeding, my ribs screaming. And then I looked up. Michael was standing by the fridge, beer in hand, watching, not saying a word, not moving, not angry, not shocked, just annoyed, as if the whole scene was nothing more than an inconvenience during his evening beer. He didn't stop her, he didn't check on me, he didn't even flinch, and that hurt more than the punch, because pain fades, but indifference from someone you love, it haunts. I stared at the screen. Stay away from us. The words burned into my brain like acid. 4 little words that didn't just break my heart, they erased me. They turned me from a sister into a threat, from a caregiver into a nuisance, from family into nothing. I felt the weight of years pressing down on me. All the holidays I had planned, all the favors I had done, all the quiet sacrifices I had made just to keep peace. And this was my thank you? Not a phone call, not a visit, not even a shred of concern, just a text. Like I was spam, like I was disposable. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. For once in my life, I wasn't searching for the right words. I wasn't trying to de-escalate or fix it. I was done fixing. So I typed one word, done, and I hit send. I sat there staring at that single word glowing on the screen. So small, so simple, and yet so final. That word wasn't just a reply. It was a declaration. I was done being the sister who gave. Done being the bridge they only walked on when they needed to cross. Done being hurt and then expected to smile through it. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain. I wasn't going to cry. Not anymore. That was the moment something inside me hardened, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I wasn't going to disappear this time. I was going to rise. I didn't scream. I didn't call them. I didn't blast my pain on social media. I didn't even cry again. I opened my laptop. There it was, a PDF titled Mortgage Loan Agreement, $750,000. The dream house. The one with the wraparound porch and white columns. The one Sarah had shown me excitedly scrolling through Zillow like it was Pinterest. The one they couldn't afford without me, because my credit score was pristine. My salary was stable. My name was the reason the bank said yes. Without Danielle Evans on that document, there was no dream. I hovered the mouse over the Revoke Guarantor option. A pop-up warning flashed. Are you sure this action will terminate the loan approval and may have legal consequences? My heart beat steady. My hand didn't shake. For once, I didn't doubt myself. Yes, I'm sure. I clicked. Next came the security layers, 2-factor authentication, a text code to my phone, my mother's maiden name, the same woman who once told me, "Don't outshine your brother." I typed it in. Finally, the signature field. I paused for a split second, staring at the blinking cursor. This wasn't just ink. It was vengeance. It was truth. It was freedom. I typed my name, clicked sign. And in that moment, everything changed. Not for me. I had already lost enough, but for them. The fantasy popped like a soap bubble. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid, but because I had work to do. Real work. The kind that doesn't beg for justice. It builds it. By sunrise, the bruises on my ribs had started to blossom purple-blue, deep yellow streaks across my skin like war paint. My lip was cracked, my face swollen, but my mind sharp, clear, focused. I opened a new folder on my laptop and named it Evidence Court. Not memories, not drama, evidence. I took photos, dozens of them, high resolution, angled, dated. My busted lip, my ribs, the scratches on my wrist. I went to urgent care that morning. Told the nurse I was assaulted by a family member. She didn't flinch. She'd heard it before. But she looked me in the eye when she said, "You're doing the right thing." The doctor was clinical, efficient. He documented everything. Laceration to the lip, contusions to the ribs, swelling consistent with blunt force trauma. I asked for a printed report. Then I screen captured every message. Michael's "stay away from us." Mine, done. The conversation, the silence that followed. All of it documented, time-stamped. I was no longer hoping someone would believe me. I was building a case they couldn't deny. I thought I had seen the worst of them. Turns out, I hadn't. 3 days after I revoked my name from the mortgage, I got a letter, certified, official, heavy. It was a temporary restraining order, filed by Sarah. The claim that I had threatened her, that I was obsessed with my brother, that I had attacked her in a jealous rage, that I was unstable, violent, and dangerous. I laughed, out loud, not because it was funny, but because it was so insultingly predictable. When they couldn't control me, they tried to discredit me. Sarah wasn't just lying, she was weaponizing the system, twisting it to make me the abuser so they could escape the consequences. For a moment, I felt that old panic creep in. What if the judge believed her? What if my story got lost beneath hers? But then, I looked at the folder on my laptop, Evidence Court, and I smiled. Let them try. I was ready, because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the hundreds of women who are silenced every day by this exact tactic. Abusers flipping the narrative and gaslighting their way to sympathy. I wasn't going to be one of them. This time, the trap would close on the one who said it. The courtroom was small. Too small for the weight of what was about to happen. The walls felt tight. The air too still, like even the room was holding its breath. I sat next to my lawyer, Miss Davies, calm, focused. On the other side, Sarah Michael, and of course my mother, all seated together, like a perfectly rehearsed tragedy cast. Sarah wore soft beige, minimal makeup. She dabbed at the corner of her dry eyes with a tissue that had seen no tears. Michael looked smaller than usual, shoulders hunched, voice trembling. His performance almost convincing. And then Sarah's lawyer began, "Your Honor, my client has endured months of harassment. She's been emotionally manipulated, physically threatened, and publicly humiliated by the respondent, Danielle Evans, who appears unable to cope with her brother's engagement." The words echoed like a slap across the face. I wasn't in a courtroom. I was in a twisted theater, and I was cast as the villain. They called me unstable, controlling, jealous, lonely. They said I had boundary issues, that I lashed out when I wasn't the center of attention, that I had an unhealthy emotional dependency on Michael. Michael took the stand next. I had known his voice all my life, but that day I didn't recognize it. "Danielle's always been intense," he said, eyes downcast, voice soft, like he was mourning me. "I love my sister, but she has a history of blowing things out of proportion." He paused, swallowed. "Sarah was scared, Your Honor. I had to protect her. I had no choice." And just like that, I was a threat to the people I had once bled for. When Sarah's lawyer finished his theatrical monologue, there was a beat of silence, the kind that lingers like a fog. Then Miss Davies stood, calm, precise, unshaken. "Your Honor," she began, "we have no interest in speculation. We will not respond to hearsay with more drama. We will present facts." She walked to the monitor. "Exhibit A," she said, "photographs of my client's injuries taken less than 24 hours after the incident." The courtroom gasped. My face on the screen, swollen, bruised, split lip, yellowing around the eye. There it was, pain, evidence, reality. "Exhibit B," Miss Davies continued, "a medical report from urgent care, signed by a licensed physician." She read aloud, "Laceration of the inner lip, contusions to the rib cage, swelling consistent with blunt force trauma." Her voice didn't shake once, and then the silence got heavier, thicker, and finally, "Your Honor, Exhibit C." She reached for a USB, plugged it in, clicked play. Security footage. The screen showed the hallway outside my apartment. It was grainy but clear enough. Sarah appeared, face twisted in rage. She shouted something unheard, then shoved me hard into the apartment. Seconds later, Michael walked into frame. He looked down at the scene and turned away. Didn't run, didn't react, didn't care. The judge leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she watched the loop again. Not one word was spoken in the courtroom, because no words were needed. The silence was suffocating. Even the air seemed to wait. The judge leaned back. Her eyes slowly swept across the courtroom, from Sarah, who now sat frozen, to Michael, who looked pale and sweaty, to me. And then the gavel came down. Crack! Petition for a restraining order is denied. A beat. Her voice got colder. Ms. Crockett, she looked directly at Sarah. Filing a false police report and perjury are serious crimes, as is assault. You are fortunate that Ms. Evans is not pursuing charges at this time. Sarah's mouth opened, then closed. Her hands clutched the tissue in her lap like it could save her. Michael just stared down at the table as if the grain in the wood held the answer to his shame. The judge turned to me. Our eyes met, and for the first time in this nightmare, someone saw me. Not as the difficult sister, not as a jealous woman, but as a human being who had been hurt but didn't stay broken. This court is adjourned. Another crack of the gavel. It echoed in the walls. It echoed in my chest. It was over, but it wasn't over, because winning in court doesn't stitch your heart back together. Justice doesn't erase memory or silence the echoes of betrayal in your bones. Truth can win the battle, but grief still lingers like smoke in your lungs. The verdict was barely a few hours old when my phone rang. The screen said Mom. For 1 second, just one, I wondered if this would finally be it. Maybe she'd seen the footage. Maybe she'd read the reports. Maybe, just maybe, she believed me now, I answered. Danielle, she said sharply. No hello, no softness. Michael told me what you did. My stomach dropped. What I did? How could you be so selfish? You're tearing this family apart over a little drama. Sarah's under stress. And you, God, Danielle, you always have to make yourself the victim. Her voice, tight, scolding, bitter, was the same one that told me years ago not to intimidate men with my ambition. And I realized something. She had never seen me. Not the daughter who worked 2 jobs in college. Not the one who paid for her prescriptions when insurance fell through. Not the woman bleeding on a kitchen floor waiting for someone to care. All she saw was inconvenience. All she saw was Michael's sister. And that's all I would ever be. So I said nothing. No defense, no anger, no begging. I just hung up. And in that moment, for the first time in my life, the weight fell off. Like I'd been holding my breath for 3 decades, waiting for her to love me loud enough, to see me clearly, to choose me. But she never would, and that was no longer my burden to carry. It came on a Wednesday. No warning, no return address. Just my name written in handwriting I knew too well. Michael. I didn't shake when I opened it, not out of numbness, but because I didn't feel anything. It had been a year since the courtroom, a year since the phone call stopped, a year since I stopped hoping for anyone to show up. And now this, a letter, from the brother who watched me bleed, from the man who chose silence over protection. His words were exactly what you'd expect. I'm sorry. Sarah and I are over. I was weak. I'm in therapy now. I want my sister back. I read it once, then again. Not looking for meaning, just confirmation. And when I finished, I didn't cry, I didn't smile, I didn't even sigh. I simply tore it in half. Then in quarters. Then into 100 soft, fluttering pieces like it had never existed. And I dropped them into the recycling bin with the same grace I used to beg for as a child, because some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Forgiveness isn't always a grand reunion. Sometimes it's just never walking back. Danielle didn't move to a new city. She didn't change her name. She didn't run away. She stayed. right where the pain had happened, and quietly built something better on top of it. She got promoted twice, led a project her boss said she wasn't quite ready for, and then crushed it. She signed up for a pottery class. The first bowl she made was crooked and chipped. The second one collapsed. The third, she kept it, glazed it blue. It sits by her window now, full of lemons from the market. She started hosting Friday dinners. Nothing fancy, just pasta, wine, laughter. People who used to be just co-workers became family. People who saw her, chose her, stayed. One afternoon, she walked past a little cactus on sale. It looked brittle, barely alive, but something about it called to her. She brought it home, put it in sunlight, watered it once a week, whispered to it when the mornings were quiet. And 3 months later, a single pink bloom opened, tiny, bright, stubborn, just like her. There's a photo on Danielle's nightstand. It's not of her family, not of Michael, not even of her friends. It's a photo of her hands, bruised, once bandaged, now holding a small blue bowl she made herself. Next to it, in her own handwriting, is a note. I used to think strength meant having no scars. Now I know it means growing from them. She doesn't hide the scars anymore. The one on her rib, the faint line on her lip, the silence from her mother, the letter she never replied to. They're all part of her now. And none of them define her. What defines her is who she became despite them. A woman who didn't just survive. She transformed. She built. She bloomed. Even the cactus blooms after enough time in sunlight. So does she. Danielle's story ends here, but maybe yours is just beginning. So let me ask you, have you ever had to walk away from someone you once called family just to save yourself? Have you ever had to choose peace over loyalty, healing over history, yourself over someone who kept hurting you? If you have, you're not alone. And if you haven't yet, but feel like that moment is coming, we're here, listening, waiting. This space right here in the comments is yours. Tell us your story. Someone out there needs to hear it. Because every scar has a twin soul. And when you share it, you might help someone else bloom too. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most share our last name. But family isn't just DNA. It's not who you're born to. It's who shows up, who chooses you, who respects your worth. Danielle's story reminds us you don't need to earn love by shrinking yourself. You don't need to stay loyal to people who thrive on your silence. You're allowed to walk away. And you're allowed to bloom with or without their permission. If something in this story spoke to you, let that be your sign. Your healing matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your story isn't over. If this story touched your heart, hit subscribe to join a space where voices like yours matter. Every week, we tell stories of pain turned into power, of silence broken, of scars that bloomed. Turn on notifications. Share with someone who needs to hear this today. You're not alone. You belong here. Welcome to Athena Stories.